Well, there's really no point in waiting until tomorrow to the other video because, dang, since I made my video this morning, what a hell of a day. Some really shitty news today. We lost two giants. One that's really just shocking the world, Neil Peart of Rush. But I got to start with the man that is not as well known like Neil, but for me personally, probably more important musically and personally, taste-wise, influence-wise, and again, one of those people, Wolfgang Dauner, German musician, German pianist, who is a big part of the history of German jazz, rock, and psychedelic rock, progressive rock. He did it all. I wish I had more Wolfgang Dauner in my collection. I'm going to start with him because I only have a couple, and I have more Rush that I can't find. I'm kind of ticked off. It's like, did I just look right past it? Because I emptied my closet, which was quite a deal. I've got a bunch of records and stuff, but I was determined. I only found one on vinyl, but I know I have 3 of their albums. I did not sell them. I'll get to Neil Peart. I have a lot of love and respect for him. I understand the grief, the serious grief going on behind the loss of Neil Peart and the surprise. But let me start with Wolfgang Dauner. Wolfgang Dauner was in his 80s when he passed away, and I think he passed away today, whereas Neil a few days ago. I was first introduced to Wolfgang Dauner's music in my senior year in high school. My friends from Europe who turned me on to R.I.P and Genesis and Faust, Gong, all that good stuff. Henry Cow, they came back from Europe with all these records, and this was one of them. And let me tell you, from the very first listen to this album, I was hooked. This is jazz, but it's a mixture of jazz, free jazz, and something else. That's what caught my ear. It's like, oh, this is something unique. This is free action. Some other notable things about the personnel on this album. See, Wolfgang Dauner was a giant. He had in his band here Fred Braceful on drums from Ex Magma. Also, he was in the band Etc. with him. Gerd Dereck, another incredible German musician, tenor sax. Jean-Luc Ponty, fantastic playing on here. Eberhard Weber on bass, are you kidding me? And Manny Neumeier from Guru Guru on drums and tabla. This is monstrous. So that was my introduction. It's still one of my top albums. I can hear it in my head as I talk to you about it. Another one of his albums that I'm really thankful to have, and I've had it for a long time and love it, and it's sought after, is Output. And I'm pretty sure this is an early edition of it. I got it as a cutout. I would see the time is like 40 years ago. Have I had this for 40 years? Probably, you know what I'm saying? ECM, one of their early albums, when it's like, this is back when you saw shit like this on ECM, and they were doing, ECM is cutting edge, their history is something not to be faded, and this is really dynamite. And then not too long ago, Chris sent this to me. Changes, a solo album by Wolfgang Dauner. And I still am not that familiar with this, but I just love having it in the collection. Okay? Last thing I have to show, I have Wolfgang Dauner on some other records, but these are the main ones that came to mind that I knew I could show you, etc. Now this is a reissue. Of course, originals of this go for the bucks, but I've got a reissue, and this is great. Lady it's a Fred Bracewell thing on here that's just awesome. It's very psychedelic and just awesome. Lady Blue. So this is the shit you need to know about if you don't know about this stuff. You know, this is why I kind of have the attitude and the stance that I do, is because I've been listening to this music since it happened. I'm not a latecomer to it. Like, I read about it in a music magazine years later, and it's like, oh, I'm jumping, you know, and no offense, because I'm thankful that younger generations have been finding this music. But I was there, you know, and I do have a certain amount of, not a certain amount, I have a lot of personal, you could say the word is pride, but it's kind of like, it's more like an internal thing. It doesn't mean anything to anyone, really. I do like sharing it with you. One more thing about Wolfgang Dauner, and this also relates to another member of the BC, Diana Biernat in Germany, who has the record store now. A while back, she saw him and his son in concert, Dauner and Dauner, Elektronisch Mieten. She was so kind to get a CD for me. Not just get the CD for me, but get it signed by Wolfgang and his son. This is, you know, I mean, it was a treasure. It was a treasure already, but my Lord. You know, I will say this about Facebook: as sinister and as insidious and as intrusive as it is, in my own way, I enjoy a sense of community that I feel on it regarding people I'm connected to, because of the things that we share in common, especially music. And so the outpouring of love and grief for Neil Peart tonight, plus Wolfgang, but in particular Neil Peart, is just like a flood of posts because of the importance of the music of Rush to the world, you know, rock music, which, you know, can't be understated. I'm feeling it deep, you know, and so I have been enjoying the sense of shared grief and a way of expressing it and sharing it like immediately through social media. You can do it through other platforms. I tweet as well, and I'm on Instagram. But this is one of the ways where I find Facebook enjoyable. And when I was just in the midst of posting and coming to terms today with the passing of Wolfgang Dauner, when I see from Piotr Dubel, I hope I got his name. He's a collector from Europe that posts in groups that I'm a member of. And his post from the news German news was the first one I saw. Wolfgang Dauner is tot. And I'm saying, oh, holy shit, no way. So at first I was, you know, just because that was the only thing I saw. I start looking right away because it's my nature to look for other sources. And there weren't any yet. It was just, but I know because of experience, as bad as this news is, you just wait. And sure enough, here came the other news reports. But as that's coming through, I hope I'm not getting this mixed up. I think I'm getting it mixed up. But anyway, as that came through about Wolfgang Dauner, I get the news report about Neil Peart. I forget where that one came first, and I'm just saying, oh my God, no, this. And that's what I posted. I said, this is just way too much. Just wait a minute now. This is just too much now. And God damn it, it was true, you know. And then it turns out that Neil died on Tuesday of brain cancer and had kept it quiet. His inner circle of friends, family, knew, and out of respect, and that means a lot. That tells you also a lot about his character as a person. They kept it quiet. You know, he didn't want people to know, and very dignified man. I was not a big Rush fan, but I have respect for Rush, and I do like them a lot. I could only find Grace Under Pressure on vinyl. But I know I have the one with Tom Sawyer on it. And I also have the one Farewell to Kings, which I bought when it came out. Really liked that album and really noticed the heavy influence of Genesis on that album. More so than other friends of mine who liked the band at the time. I kept saying, well, they got that from Genesis. And they're saying, what are you talking about? You know, and it's like, and then I would point it out, but still, I didn't quite get it but it's, Rush told you about it. But I always recognize, and this is what I'm very happy also about, my objectivity about music has grown and matured over years because I'm opinionated, but I've always been able to recognize talent, and when musicians are good, and Rush are an excellent band, not a good band, an amazing band. Now the vocals has always been the part that it's like you love it or hate it, and I've never been a fan of Geddy Lee's voice, but the band's music and what they do as a unit is, can't be touched. So I have this, and I also, thankfully, still have this from my DJ days and getting promos. I have Counterparts on promo cassette from the 90s when I was getting all kinds of stuff. And come to think of it, I may have more. There's layers of stuff. As I was digging out the closet, I come across a couple things. I said, oh, let me listen to this. I forgot about that. But I saw Rush once, and I got to see them way early on. I saw them in 1974. I believe it was Neil Peart's first tour with them, and they were opening for Hawkwind when I saw them. I believe it was the fall of 1974 in Lincoln, Nebraska. And it was a memorable show. Now, it was Hawkwind's night. I mean, I could appreciate Rush then. Now, the vocals bugged me. I mean, I was young. I was a kid. In 1974, I was, 18, 19? But I could tell the band was tight and they were good. And then the thing that stood out to me was Neil Peart's drumming. That was the highlight of their set. And back in those days, by hook or crook, I always ended up in the front. But this show, it was no problem because there was hardly anyone there at the Hawkwind show in Lincoln, Nebraska. Now, I didn't know that Hawkwind had been to Nebraska before. I didn't know that. This was their second time, I believe. But there was really maybe only 300 people in this auditorium. So I was right up front, right on the edge of the stage watching Rush. So I got to watch up front, up close. And what I can say objectively from memory, as well as having become an appreciator of Rush and watched a lot of video, including their DVD story. I forget the name of it. It's really good. I have so much respect for the band. But the thing that I can tell you about, that I love and respect about Neil, was he was a true drummer from the bottoms of his feet. It meant everything to him to play those drums with everything he had, every single time. Not just for himself, but for us. And that really came across already. I mean, when I think back about it, because I've always devoured music. And that's one thing, even though memories get fuzzy, I can think back and have memories of almost all the major concerts I've been to, all the memorable ones, and things stick out. And that's what I can say about Neil Peart. Much respect to him. Something that's also come to my attention of watching many different live videos of them, as well as following them on MTV back when they had the videos. But I've watched several different live videos of them, and the Tom Sawyer drum break, which I think is historic, I think most of you will agree. It's a historic piece of drumming. And it's not so much that when he nails it, it's the best, because I've seen him do it many different times, and it's so difficult that I don't think there's a perfect time. But there's a couple times caught on video where it's like if you were to slow it down, And even without slowing down, it looks like he's in slow motion. There's so much grace in how he's moving through these runs and hitting those drums, and his concentration and his focus. There is one where, I don't think I've slowed it down. It's like in my mind I can see him like a bird. It's that graceful, but also that powerful. Neil Peart was a fucking giant. And this is a blowaway. This is not who we want to be losing. We didn't want to be losing. We don't want to lose anybody, but Neil Peart, for fuck's sake, what? Now, we knew that he had retired, and he was private, so he had we knew he had physical difficulty playing drums, and it was hard on him. But as everyone was saying publicly, best we could surmise was it was his arthritis, which is to be expected. A hard-hitting drummer. I used to play drums. I have arthritis, not because of drums. I have arthritis, but it didn't help. But whoo-wee, Wolfgang Dauner and Neil Peart passing, getting the news of him passing to begin the weekend. I don't even have to wait to talk about it. I'm going to just go, and just say what I feel, okay? Over and over, I see this, and it's something that I sussed as a child. I'm certain that I remember this from back as I was absorbing, maybe not right away, but still when I was just before I was even 10 or 11. I can trace this back specifically listening to and getting hit like a ton of bricks with when I would listen to Little Richard. Someone gave me one of his first albums. Good heavens, the energy, you know what I'm saying? I've just somehow sensed early on, before I was really that cognizant, that music is more important than it's at that time. This is in the 60s, and it was still back coming out of a golden time of America, in a way, of the 40s and 50s. And so those traditional values still made sense to everyone. And music and rock and roll was still the devil's music, and it was this bad thing, and then the mainstream was get a job, and and the most important thing is these certain people in history and who the president is and all that bullshit. But as a kid, and I think it got solidified by the murder of JFK, but I just knew that music was probably one of the most important things in people's lives besides me. I just figured that this is something that's having a more lasting, true effect on people's lives than these fucking politicians and some of this bullshit that's being taught to me by school and some of the shit that my parents think they're supposed to be telling me and other adults. Some of it's good, but a lot of it is just bullshit. False respect is a big thing I'm talking about. Respecting authority that doesn't deserve it. And now, it's like, come on, if you don't see what I'm talking about now, looking at the world, it's like the fox has been in the fucking hen's nest or whatever the fuck forever now. You know what I'm saying? Music is a healer, and so I'm making the connection to the passing of these gigantic musicians and the effect it's having on people. I'll speak particularly of Neil, because I know that it touches more people. Neil Peart's artistry through his music, not just his drums now, because I'm not forgetting now. Yes, his words. He was the primary lyricist for Rush, and that means a lot to a lot of people. But his work as an artist has done more good for the world than all the bad combined of the current Trump administration. That's how powerful to me I see music. That he's done more good than all the bad. And I mean, there's nothing but trouble and disaster with these motherfuckers. Nothing but, except for them and a few of their friends who are banking. It's a lie to say that the overall economy is in better shape. Parts of it are. I follow this stuff. Don't be, I don't let people fade me with this stuff. Oh, things are better. Not overall, baby. No. For some, it's better. For some, it's way worse. Way worse. And then sociologically, the damage on the country's heart and soul, like it ever had one, but it tries to. The damage done by these fucking cold-blooded criminal con men. Still, as bad as it is, I want to give props to Wolfgang Dauner and Neil Peart for what they've done for me and the rest of you all of us, through the power of music and art. May they rest in peace.